All right, welcome to the Explainer. So today we're going to tackle something we all use every single day, money. But the real story of where it comes from is, well, way more fascinating and frankly more bizarre than you probably think. Let's dive in.
So, if I asked you, where does money really come from, you'd probably say, the government prints it, right? I mean, that's what we all learn. Well, what if I told you that all that physical cash is just the tip of a massive, massive iceberg?
I mean, just look at this. It's kind of wild. You've got all the bills and coins, everything you can actually hold in your hand. That's about $2 trillion in the US. But the actual money supply, the stuff zipping around in bank accounts that we can spend right now, that's over 20 trillion. So that leaves, what, $18 trillion unaccounted for? If it's not being printed, where in the world did it come from? That is the mystery we are cracking today.
Okay, so to figure this out, we actually need to rewind a bit. We've got to understand why we even invented money in the first place. And that whole story starts with a huge headache known as the barter problem. Just picture it for a second. A world with no money. Let's say you're an accountant and you need new shoes. It's not enough to just find a shoemaker. You have to find a shoemaker who also happens to need their taxes done, like right now. That's what they call a double coincidence of wants, and it's a total nightmare, super inefficient. Money just blows that all problem away. It replaces all that complexity with one simple, powerful thing, trust. You trust that the dollar you get for your work will be accepted by the shoemaker for their shoes. Simple.
So for anything, I'm talking shells, gold, or a dollar bill, to actually be money, it has to check 4 boxes. First, it's got to be a medium of exchange. Basically, everyone agrees to take it. Second, a store of value, so you can save it and it'll still be worth something later. Third, a unit of account, so we can put a price tag on things. And last, a standard of deferred payment, which is just a fancy way of saying you can use it for loans and debt. If it does those 4 things, it's money.
All right, so flash forward to today, the place where all this money magic happens, the banking system. To find that missing $18 trillion, we've got to peek inside that black box. And the tool we're going to use to do that is the balance sheet. You can think of it like a simple T account. It sounds complicated, but it's not. On one side, you have assets. That's what the bank owns or is owed. On the other side, you have liabilities. That's what the bank owes to other people.
So, check this out. This is a healthy bank. On the asset side, you see its cash, bonds, and all the loans it's given out. But here's the part that trips people up. Look at the liabilities. Your deposit? To the bank, that's a liability. They owe you that money. The leftover bit, the difference between what they own and what they owe, is the bank's net worth.
But what happens when things go south? Let's say a big recession hits, and a bunch of people can't pay back their loans. All of a sudden, those $5 million in loans on the asset side, they're only worth $3 million now. And poof, just like that, the bank's net worth goes from positive $1 million to negative $1 million. It's bankrupt. It owes more than it owns. And this right here is the risk that's baked into the whole system.
All right, so let's recap. We know why we have money, and we know how a bank's balance sheet works. We have all the pieces of the puzzle. Now, it's time for the big reveal. This is how that extra $18 trillion is literally created.
We're going to walk through a classic example. Imagine a brand new bank. We'll call it Singleton Bank. And it gets its very first deposit. Someone walks in with $10 million in cash.
So this is what the bank looks like at moment one. It has $10 million in assets, that cash is called reserves, and $10 million in liabilities, which it owes to the person who deposited it. Super simple. At this point, nothing's really happened. No new money has been created. The money supply hasn't budged.
But here's the thing. Banks don't just sit on your money. Their whole business is lending. They operate under a system called fractional reserve banking. And all that means is they only have to keep a fraction of their deposits on hand. In this case, let's say the reserve requirement is 10%. So Singleton Bank has to keep $1 million locked away. But that leaves $9 million. Those are excess reserves, and the bank is now free to loan them out.
Okay, pay attention, because this is the moment it all happens. Singleton Bank makes a $9 million loan to, say, Hank's Auto Supply. Now look at the balance sheet. The bank's assets have shifted. It's got $1 million in reserves, and now a new asset, a $9 million loan. And here's the magic trick. Where did that $9 million for the loan come from? It was created, poof, out of thin air with just a few keystrokes in an accounting system.
Now, Hank doesn't walk out with a giant bag of cash, right? The bank just credits his account. And he takes that $9 million and deposits it into his bank, let's call it First National Bank. And this is where the whole thing just takes off. Boom,
First National Bank now has a new $9 million deposit. Now think about this. The original $10 million is still on the books at Singleton Bank, but now we also have this new $9 million at First National. The total money in the economy just went from $10 million to $19 million. Just like that. The simple act of making a loan created $9 million new.
It's not some conspiracy theory. It's just how the system works. This quote really nails it. The process of banks making loans is intimately tied to the creation of money. The very act of a bank issuing a loan is the act of creating new money. It's not the government printing it, it's commercial banks typing it into existence every single day.
So you might be wondering, how far can this chain reaction go? Is there a limit? Well, yeah, there is. And there's actually a formula for it. It's called the money multiplier. It's super simple, just 1 divided by the reserve requirement. This is kind of like the secret code of the banking system.
So in our example, the reserve requirement was 10%, right? So 1 divided by 0.10 is 10. The multiplier is 10x. What that means is that initial $10 million deposit can be loaned out and then redeposited and reloaned again over and over until it has created up to $100 million in total money from one single deposit. That's $90 million of brand new money. It's an absolutely mind-blowing multiplier effect.
Okay, so now that you know the secret, that banks literally create money when they lend, we need to talk about the flip side. Because this system is an incredibly powerful double-edged sword. I mean, on the one hand, this is the engine of our economy, right? It's what allows businesses to get loans to grow, for people to buy houses, for new ideas to get funded. But, and this is a huge but, the entire thing is built on trust. If people lose faith, or if a whole bunch of those loans go bad at the same time, like we saw in 2008, that money creation process slams into reverse, and that can cause a catastrophic credit crunch and a massive economic crisis.
You know, when you zoom out, you realize this system we have now is just the latest chapter in a really long story. We've used everything: cowrie shells, gold coins. Then in 1971, the US switched to fiat currency, basically money that's only backed by our faith in the government. And now we're in the middle of this whole new experiment with cryptocurrency. The technology is always changing, but that core idea of a shared belief, that stays the same.
So, in the end, the story of money was never really about the gold or the paper or the bits of code on a computer. It has always been about one thing: trust. A collective agreement that this thing, whatever it is, has value. From the ancient shells to today's digital ledgers, it's all a story of shared belief. And that brings us to the big final question. What are we all going to choose to trust next?